Hi, this is Lori Johnson with Hancock Whitney Bank, and you're listening to Local Leaders, the podcast. Visit localleadersthepodcast.com for previous episodes or for information on appearing on the show.
Hey everyone, before we get started today, I want to shout out Level Dumpsters. They're huge supporters of our podcast. And hey, you can save money on your construction needs or your residential needs when it comes to roll-off dumpsters. Just check them out. You can go to leveldumpsters.com. That's LEVELDUMPSTERS.com, and you can get all the information you need. And check this out. If you mention Local Leaders, you get $100 off of your dumpster rental. And hey, we're trying to save people money around here and give them great service. They are an approved vendor of Local Leaders of the podcast. You can contact them at 225-310-6647 or email them at info@leveldumpsters.com. They're proud supporters of Local Leaders, the podcast. Now, let's get into what we're going to talk about today. And it's a little bit different. I'm not interviewing anybody today. I'm doing something else. I actually spoke at a Livingston Parish Chamber of Commerce luncheon that they had. It's called Biz Connects, where business owners get together and just kind of network a little bit with each other, learn a little bit more about each other's business. And I was honored to be the keynote speaker at that event. And what I talked about was personal branding. And one thing I figured out after the event ended is not a lot of people in that room, and it was packed. Not a lot of those people knew what personal branding was. And even if they were somewhat familiar with it, not a lot of them knew exactly how to implement it, what it meant, especially what it meant to their business. So I thought it'd be a good idea today just to take a few minutes and explain exactly what personal branding is and how it can benefit your business. So we're going to jump into it. What exactly is a personal brand? It's the unique combination of skills, experiences, and personality traits that define who you are and how you are perceived by others. Be it your clients, your friends, your customers, even your coworkers. It is essentially how other people see you. And how you brand yourself and what it means to brand yourself is you're going to make an intentional effort to create and influence that public perception. You're going to go for it. Once you understand how to personal brand yourself, you're going to make intentional moves in order to see to it that you're branded properly. So how do you do that? How do you brand yourself? Well, the first thing you have to do, and probably the most integral thing in the whole process, is you have to define your purpose. Every strong personal brand starts with a clear sense of purpose. You want to ask yourself, what do I want to be known for? Maybe it's the knowledge in your field. Maybe you want to be known as an expert, or maybe you want to be known as the hardest worker in the room. Maybe you want to be known as the problem solver. And maybe you want to be known as all three, but you got to figure that out. That's your first step. And also in defining your purpose, you got to figure out what your core values and your passions are. Maybe you're passionate about your community. Or maybe it's a specific nonprofit. Or maybe you're just passionate about football. Whatever it is, you need to establish it, and you need to really hammer it down. Figure that out. Find your passion, because if you don't know what you're passionate about, or you don't focus on what you're passionate about, you will burn out. There's no doubt about it. Now, once you define that purpose, you want to do what experts will call finding or identifying your unique value proposition. Now, I call that finding your separator. What sets you apart from other people in your field? What makes you different? What makes you special? And what separates you not only from your competitors, but even from people in your own organization, the people you work with? There's things that make you stand out. And the good news is You don't have to figure that out. Your clients, your customers, those you do business with, they're going to tell you. You just need to know how to listen. Now, typically, you'll notice that several different people are saying the same things about you. And in a prior industry that I worked in for 20 plus years, I would constantly hear clients comment on how much they appreciated my follow-up and how accessible I was. When they would call, I would answer the phone. They would always make that comment, no matter what time of day it was, right? Well, that told me two things. First, it told me that apparently there was an issue in my industry with follow-up. And maybe my competition was struggling with that. So I can use that to my advantage. But second, it validated that I was good at it. And once you figure out what your separator is, you can really start moving on your personal brand, because you want to make that a focus of why people should do business with you. Then you move to the next step, which is to craft your narrative. Now, this step right here, I believe this wholeheartedly, deep down into my core. I mean, I make a career now of helping other businesses do it. Remember this, your personal brand is not just about what you do. It's also the story behind why you do it. Share your journey, challenges you've overcome, achievements that highlight your strengths. Authenticity matters. People connect with real stories from real people. My entire premise on this podcast, Local Leaders, is based on the belief that once people know why you do what you do, they are many times more likely to do business with you. The why always leads to the buy. Make no mistake about it. When I was 15 years old, I read a book called See You at the Top by Zig Ziglar. And let me tell you, a classic. If you hadn't read it and you're in the business field, especially if you're a younger business person, go check it out. Trust me. In that book, Zig said something that made such an impression on me that now, 35 years later, it sums up exactly why I do what I do. Zig said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's a fact, and it's exactly why crafting your narrative is so important. Now, once you've crafted your narrative, you want to establish your online presence. Now, today, everything is going digital. You can get your news online. People order food online. People even find their spouses online. It's true. But most important for this discussion is the vast majority of people make buying decisions online. Over 70% of people today say they are more likely to do business with someone with a strong personal brand and presence online than someone without it. That's straight up facts. I'll also say this is the step that most people struggle with. The establishment of a business page on Facebook, for example. That's easy. Takes 5 minutes. It's the promotion of themselves that people most struggle with. They just feel funny mentioning they won that award or talking about how good they are at whatever business it is they do. Now, there are ways of verbalizing things where you don't come off arrogant, but you need to get comfortable with telling people the facts of what you bring to the table if you're trying to build your following and thus your personal brand. So if you engage in business and you don't have a business presence on Facebook and LinkedIn at a minimum, there's many others, but at a minimum, those two, you're missing a major boat. So I'm going to move on to my fifth tip for building your personal brand, and that's network and engage. Attend business-related events. Engage in online forums. Be active in your community. People need to know who you are, what you do, what your belief system is, and how you can help them at all times. If you're supporting nonprofits, go to nonprofit events and support them and let people know. It speaks to who you are. It may be a difference maker. My sixth tip, deliver value and build your credibility. Whether through your work, content you share, or interactions in person with other people, always aim to add value. You want to position yourself as the trusted resource in whatever your field is. That builds credibility, and it will also reinforce your personal brand over time. You want everyone you come across to know that you're an expert in that field. You want to help them. You don't want to sell them. That's the perception that you want to put out. And number 7, accept criticism. Creating a personal brand, y'all, it's an ongoing process. Be open to constructive criticism and be willing to adapt and improve your personal brand based off of that. Maybe you're doing a MailChimp and you're bombarding people too much with too many emails. Well, you can fix that. Or maybe you're not doing enough Facebook posts. You can fix that. Or maybe you breathe too much. Believe it or not, I had a friend of mine several years ago tell me that I breathed too much on my podcast, and it made the podcast hard for them to listen to. Well, I went back and I listened to several of my podcasts, and that person was right. I breathe too much. So I'm proud to say that now I breathe much less than I did before. But I had to accept that criticism to figure that out. And my numbers did increase after that. So who knows? Maybe it was a deal. And my last tip for today, live your brand. Your personal brand is not just a persona you adopt professionally for business. It should align with your actions and your behaviors at all aspects of your life. Be true to your values and maintain your integrity in everything you do, whether in your business life or your personal life, because one will affect the other. And I want to leave you with this. It's a post that I personally put on Facebook just about a week ago, but I think it's a good reflection of my personal brand. And I titled it, Someone Needs to Hear This. When I left one career to reinvent myself and follow my heart and where I felt God was pushing me in 2020, I have one podcast on my roster, my flagship podcast, Local Leaders. Shortly after, I had a literal dream, and when I woke up, I wrote down everything I could remember that I envisioned from that dream. I even named my production company Envision in honor of that dream. I put my faith in God and educated myself on everything I could learn about the production side of podcasting with the hopes that if I built it, they would come. And did they ever? Fast forward until today, and I'm either executive producer, managing editor, engineer, host, or co-host on all of the above podcasts. And I had a picture of 14 different podcasts that I do that for. 2 of these podcasts are in the top 100 worldwide. 5 of these podcasts are in the top 250 worldwide. All of these podcasts are homegrown right here in Livingston Parish. And that's what I'm most proud of. So what have I learned that could apply to anyone looking to better their business in any field? I have learned so much over the past 4 years. Yes, I now have more certifications than I can count. But one thing I learned is that following what works for others and implementing it, that is what is more valuable. Don't reinvent the wheel, add to it. Always remember where you came from. Stay humble, keep your ego in check, and give back where you can. Just be genuine. But lastly, and in my mind, most important, never listen to the naysayers. When you go for something, the cannots in life will come out of the woodwork. First, they'll try to destroy your vision, then your reputation, and finally, your dream. They'll get jealous of you, plain and simple. Those who are truly happy to see you succeed are rare. And when you find them, cling to them and make sure they know how much you appreciate them. Push through the noise and know who you are at all times. The cream will always rise to the top. I'm so honored to play a role in the success of all the podcasts you see pictured here. They trust in my company and myself, and I do not take that lightly. If you have not listened to these fine folks, please check them out. And I hope that this post helps at least one person not only envision what they're capable of, but believe in themselves enough to go for it. And that, y'all, is who I am. That is my personal brand. So I just wanted to bring that to you today. I hope it helped. I hope you can implement some of those tips. They worked for me. Some of them may work for you. I appreciate everybody that listens to Local Leaders and everything else that I do or am involved in. It truly is an honor to be able to bring you some entertainment, maybe some knowledge. Hopefully you get something out of all of the things I do. I do want to thank Level Dumpsters. Without them, what we do would not be possible. And if you're interested in sponsoring Local Leaders of the Podcast, reach out to me, Jim at localleadersofthepodcast.com. We love to promote our local businesses. So if you're in Livingston Parish, Baton Rouge, Prairieville area, pretty much a 50 square mile radius around Livingston Parish. So Hammond would be included in that, maybe as far as the Slidell area. Shoot me an email and we'll talk about it. Until next time, I'm Jim Chapman, reminding you, love your community, support local business, and keep leading. Thank you very much.